I don't want to keep my guests waiting as well. This man he's multi-niche, to say the least. He's not just uh podcaster or anybody like that. He's not a one-trick pony, okay? He's involved with Truth and Democracy, okay? That he still has that show, thank God, and Bible study for progressives. And God, they need it. They need it because they want to throw God out the window. So I'm happy for that. Me personally, I'm proudly biased. He's a author, attorney, activist, and a survivor of sexual abuse. So no, he was not raised no locked up gated community at Pleasantville, whatever state you want to insert in there. Okay, he's been through stuff, and he has a very unique understanding. And yes, I am reading from the guest sheet. Sue me. He has a very unique understanding of the problem of male loneliness, which is on the rise, and some people on the left has recognized. I got to give credit to one YouTuber, Shoe on Head. She recognizes that, and she's trying to help reduce male loneliness, sexlessness, and female promiscuity. Wow. Yeah, this is very timely to say the least. That's my honest opinion. And he's also diving into the red pills. What is this left leaning person diving into red pill? I personally think it's a good thing. You gotta reach across the aisle. Don't just stick to your little echo chamber that, oh yeah, Medicare for all, great, great, great. Or okay, Black Lives Matter, great, great, great. No, 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 no. You gotta be involved and talk to people with different opinions. You'd be surprised. You can learn something, and they can learn something from you too. It's a reciprocal experience, and what and what's and then we also go dive into a little bit what's wrong with the dating, how it affects men, and just what he does in general. I don't want to make it too specific because I like an open-ended conversations. He spoke about pornography, sexuality in colleges in Southern California, and yes, I know I have jokingly bashed Californians for invading my podcast, but he do got some really good people. Yes, I'm being a hypocrite right now because I only represent East Coast, East Coast, New York, New York. I know, sue me. Um, and he has written for many. Okay, Los Angeles Daily Journal, LA Progressive, BuzzFlash. I thought that was BuzzFeed. I was going to bash BuzzFeed. I don't take them very seriously. They are an internet waste of space. Demcast and more. And he's all over the place. He's in rallies, churches. He's very involved. Seminars, public events, and online meetings. And then he also deals with global perspective on social issues. I'm not sure that's a book. Looks like it's a book cover. Um, Before he answers that, let's welcome Rich Procida. Sorry for the long introduction.
Oh, no, that's great, Elias. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate being on your podcast.
And some things you say, I'm sure you're going to get pushback from the simps. That's one term, the one slang term I'm going to throw out there. I'm pretty sure you know what that is because it's been thrown, especially when the man's trying to be overly nice to get in the woman's pants. The simps, the ultra feminists are saying, oh, to hell with Richard. He is trying to power the men with that shady, nuanced, philosophical talk. I can say right through him. I mean, I have received pushback on that, even though I wasn't even trying to apply anything, but hey, it's going to happen. Sometimes you get pushback. Ironically, you're on the right track.
That's good.
Aha.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to
Well,
say. Anything else you want to add?
well, you brought up something about how we have this stereotype of men as horn dogs. In fact, women, I hate to say, but I think a lot of women disrespect men. They call us dogs, garbage, trash. And we're portrayed as these, and quite frankly, my history of sexual abuse has changed my reaction to certain things. And sometimes things that Other guys are like screaming, acting like dogs because a woman is showing her breast, right? Maybe at a some place, and you're acting like a dog, yelping like a dog, right?
Or
I
probably
have
just
a
salivating.
salivate, yeah. And I have a totally different reaction. I have a post-traumatic stress reaction. I have a reaction of, what does this person want from me? And I have just a very different reaction. I've told that story on a Truth and Democracy podcast. That I just don't have the same reaction that men have to like strippers and strip clubs and things like that. I have a post-traumatic reaction to those things. So I sort of got off on the topic, but the idea that the guy is a horn dog, that and the evolutionary psychologists say that men want to spread their seed. They want to spread their seed. And so they're trying to have access to as many women as possible. That's their innate strategy for creating babies, basically, for perpetuating the species through their genes, right? And for women, because they've had this experience of being subjected, in a sense, are survival creatures who are looking for protection, provision, and so forth. And so so in some sense, that is men's strategy, and women's strategy is called hypergamy. And what hypergamy is the tendency of women to date up in social status and money, and obviously the men dating down. And so women are trying to use marriage and relationships to gain provisioning, money, that's the money part of it, to gain protection because they were very, very vulnerable, and someone to provide for them, so that they could take care of the children that they bear. Now, a lot of men might say, oh, yes, and this explains women's relationship. Well, not really. Because basically, if you ask any woman, okay, I have an innate strategy to have sex with as many women as possible, as many different women as possible. And that's my innate sexual strategy, that to perpetuate the species through my genes. Does that mean I should do it? Does that mean it's okay for me to do that? Is it okay for me to go around having sex with every single woman I can? Is that something that you would condone? Ask any woman, I guarantee you, all right, I would expect that they'd say no. So when we have women who, yes, they have the need for provisioning, yes, they have the need for protection, but does that excuse them taking advantage of men? Does that excuse them making bank off of men's loneliness and despair? Women are making millions of dollars off of men's loneliness and despair because men live in situations of sexual scarcity. And that scarcity is perpetuated by women sometimes because they want that power and control. And it's collective. They slut shame each, and sometimes I think they slut shame each other to keep women from having sex with men, to keep the men sexually in a state of sexual scarcity. So, so really, it's not the men who are going out having sex with all these women. Maybe it's the men the women are having sex with that are having sex with, but it's really not men who are doing that. But is it okay for women, because they have these needs, to go out and take advantage of him, to prostitute themselves, to create OnlyFans page, to make a living off of men, to marry a man for his money, to divorce him and take everything he has, after you've had sex with your Chad or whatever, does it make these things all right? And then the second question, which I have for evolutionary psychologists, which is a criticism of them and some of the red pill advocates is that, are women able to control their own behavior? They absolutely are able to control their own behavior. Just like we men, we have changed. We've taken the criticisms of feminism and we've even tried to create a more ethical sexuality. I remember I was into that. I was so, I went through feminism. I wrote my book, which is on pornography. It was a feminist studies book. I minored in women's studies, and I tried to deal with it, make an ethical sexuality. Little did I know that women want men who will dominate them in the bedroom. So it was a total waste of my time to think about that. But we have changed. We respect them more. We allow them to be bosses. We allow them to judge us. We don't yell at them or at them when they're walking down the street or whatever they used to call that, cat calls or whatever. We've changed our behaviors.
Or
Now,
put them
women,
aside when it came to grown conversations too, especially back then. Okay, women and children go away. We men gotta talk business. I'm talking about this, such as classic movies, which it did affect my thinking. Just to keep it as real short, like Raging Bull. So all right, get you the kids. This man gotta talk, Now they're part more of the power table, which is good. Nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
But I do want to add on. I will even add traditional media perpetuates that spread it wide, and social media, forget it. Even certain female celebrities are saying men are cheaper and easy. That's another insult that's popping up by
Yeah,
some
that's right.
so-called famous social media. So I just want to just add into that, because you're saying a lot of great stuff, and
Thank you.
I agree a whole lot more. I don't even think I even disagree with the point yet. Like, I think you're the most nuanced person, in my opinion. I'm not going to speak for my listeners. They might agree, they might disagree, a little bit of both. I shall find out. Eventually, the feedback will come clear and concise. Especially if they are willing. So yeah, that's definitely very, very, very true regarding the whole dynamic. I respect women more and all that, but I think to some extent we have to play opposite what they are saying. They say A, but they might mean B to some extent.
Yeah, I think you're right about
Not on every single communication. And sometimes no means no, and that's why those guys get me too. And that justifies the Me Too, especially if they're rich and powerful. Harvey Weinstein's a perfect example. But I'll say a lot of it out of Harvey Weinstein. That's when the movement got too out of control. So okay, I almost became a supporter of that. So okay, no, I'm done. I see where this is going. Piss off. You just you want to go after every single guy. You just want to defame them. Even when he's legally clear, he's still damaged because he can't get that job back. His reputation has a long-term shit stain at best. I was gonna say, oh, he raped me just by how he looked at me,
it.
which that makes it very hard for real rape victims to
Hmm.
report. Now
Right,
they gotta think twice or even thrice about this claim.
right. And I
You
I
know,
think actually
yeah, go ahead.
this yeah, yeah, this nonpartisan, the red pill is actually a, they would deny it, but it's kind of a Me Too moment for men. I mean, for me, it was, I was sexually abused and used as a child and as a teenager and as a young man. And a lot of guys say might relate to that. And then, but the other point is they have this Me Too moment about divorce and when they got screwed, and how it becomes like, I was telling a woman, I met a woman from Match, and she was saying, I want to get married in 3 years. That's my goal. I'm like, why you want to do that? Um, but men are not going for it. It's like when a woman gets married to a man, it's like she won the jackpot, hit the jackpot. She's winning hundreds of thousands of dollars usually. When a man gets married, it's like he's losing 100, 200,000 dollars. It's a financially irresponsible decision. People are not getting married, and men are less and less men. I never got married. I turned out, well, to be right, but really I had a lot of issues. I had a lot of trauma to deal with. So that was going to put a roadblock in that for me. And I wish I knew these things about women when I was so much younger. And that's why I'm encouraging a lot of men. And that's why I'm doing this nonpartisan red pill men's group, because liberal men need to be red pilled too. We need to understand what's going on. We need to
Red pill
understand.
in a reality objective kind of sense, not the political aspect. Let's just be clear. Don't make me call you libtard. Just be absolutely clear in the objective and analytical sense, okay? Not the political sense. I know that's not compatible with you. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Be
Well,
analytical. Be objective. Try to have a sober mind. There you go. Let's use a little biblical term.
right.
Sober mind.
Because yeah, because we remember what it's about. Really, the red pill is really about women's behavior, and they would say women's nature, but it's behavioralism. One of the things we do is we look at what women do. We look at the numbers. We look at the stats rather than what we say. And just like you said, what we find out is that what they say and what they do are two different things. And one example I might use is, they often say, oh, it's not all about money. It's not all about, or it's not all about looks, right? We look at these other things, right? Yeah.
Oh,
And we,
let men have those standards. Oh, they get called out instantly. Oh, I want a woman to look certain way. So you hate ugly people. Yeah, keep going.
right, right.
I could add on to all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, they talk about it like that. But the truth is, it reminds me of law school when the professors say, your grade is in the analysis. You can know the law, but unless you do the analysis. But what they forget to tell you is that you have to know the law to do the analysis. So you need to have the law under your belt before you can do the analysis. And so here, yeah, they're trying to tell you that it's just these, we consider their character. We talk about all these things, but when it comes down, then the rubber hits the road, you find out it's mostly about looks and resources. It's mostly about looks and resources. Is it, yeah, sure, they consider other things, but when you look at the stats and the numbers, you can see what the actual truth is. So we're getting a bum rap. And in fact, men are much more forgiving when it comes to looks than women are. Women have, I think there's an
And especially
epidemic.
financial standards. I mean, especially in financial standards. Ooh.
Yeah,
I mean, normally speaking, a woman is able to marry up. You already alluded to this a couple of times.
right.
They go up. Man's socioeconomic standards, he was here, it goes down.
Yeah,
Because the woman's including expenses, especially with the children come in there. That's even more expenses. He's got to make more money just to go up there, work a lot more hours, and that compromises a quality relationship as well because he's working a lot more than being with the wife and the kids. So it's very complicated, just to say the
right.
least. Very
Well,
complicated.
yeah, and the women are,
And working longer too is another thing that's really hindering this as
yeah.
well.
But the
Just
looks thing is that it's mostly looks and resources for women. I mean, the vast majority of it is. And I'm
Yeah, it looks
sorry.
financials and even working longer hours, which lessens the quality of the relationship because you got to work long hours just to maintain or
Yeah.
increase his resources. So like that, the woman and kids
Oh
to
yeah,
be
that
take care
I
of.
remember what it is that men are much more forgiving. I mean, when you look at how women look at the men on those dating apps, they find most of the men unattractive, and only a small fraction of the men are attractive to them. But when you look at how men have a traditional bell curve. We can find attraction in a 5 and a 6. We can find it because of the way we're built. We're made to want to have access to as many women and so forth. And so we can find attraction in a lot of women. We're actually much more forgiving when it comes to looks than women are. But we get the bum rap of being the guys. But then when women are complaining about how men, they're just horn dogs, they're cheap and easy, right? They like to complain about that. But think about it. Men are built to make love to women. Men are made to make love to women. So what the heck are they complaining about? They're complaining about men being sexual beings is what they're complaining about, having their sexual nature. And just because they can charge for their ass doesn't mean that men have to charge. But I want to tell you one thing, it's heading in that direction, because the more that the women want to only have sex with the hottest guys, and of course they can have sex with hotter guys because guys are attracted to a wider variety of women than women are attracted to men. So they can have, but so they think in their head, oh yeah, I can get this guy, I can get this hot rich guy. He had sex with me once. I can get him. And they never want to go down, and they're doing this. I think we have almost an epidemic of sexual suicide among women, especially older women. If I can't get what I want, if I can't get if he doesn't meet these standards, I don't want anyone at all. I met a woman, I'm older, I'm 59, but I met a woman at a speed dating thing, and I called her later, and she told me she hadn't had sex in 5 years. I'm like, thinking to myself, I told her this actually, how could you allow that? Do I really want to have a woman? And then on top of that, she said, if I don't get a commitment to me, I'm not having sex at all. I don't want to have hookup culture. I don't want, already saying, I don't want a hookup culture. If I can't get what I want, I'd rather not have sex at all. And so many women leave the sexual marketplace as early as 40. And they don't have as strong a sexual desire as we do. Men are still in the marketplace in the 60s and 70s. And there are some women out there too. And almost universally, I find that they want younger men. So it's headed in that direction. If women are going to be paying those men, they're going to start charging money. Women are going to have money. Those men are going to start charging money. And so get used to paying for men, because that's what's coming down the line. And so that's what you're creating, just like you've created the hookup culture, So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say on that a lot of these problems we get blamed for, but they're not our fault. And there's a problem with women taking accountability. I don't know how much, when I went to college, this is after, having been sexually abused and used all my life, ended up in college, community college. And and this was in the 80s, and sexual harassment law was new. People didn't think men could even be sexually harassed at that time. And I had this class asking me to pose nude. And it's a long story, but she had a bunch of, I would call, flying monkeys, or women doing her bidding, coming up to me, trying to encourage me to pose nude, telling me how much. But I would ask every single one of them out on the date, and each one of them said the same thing: I can't do that. So in other words, they want to see me nude, but they don't want to go out with me. And of course, what was this about? They had a calendar, and they were making money and even embezzling money off when they're making the calendar, using the schools, finances, and recruiting for the men. And it was a whole system where they had identified the men they wanted, and they put them in these special classes. And I had no idea I was going into these classes for this. Going to classes, I didn't understand why I was there, and being asked this, and I wasn't going to do it. And they even recruited my girlfriend to try and seduce me into doing it, and brought me down to try and seduce me into doing it. And there was no way I was going to do it. I was so pissed off so humiliated, because I certainly didn't want to have to publicly say no. I didn't want to explain why. And so I remember running to the administration and having these women chasing me and knowing, ironically, what a lot of men would love to have these women chasing, but I knew they just wanted to treat me like a little baby, have no respect for me, so they can do it to the next guy, to the next class. So I filed a sexual harassment case, and I ended up bringing that teacher and that whole system down. But this is what they were doing, right? I mean,
I definitely want to chime in, just especially a lot of, yeah, sadly, a lot of young men who are just eager just to score. You just say it that way, against their pants. Oh, yeah, that's a dream paradise. Oh, man, got all these ladies chasing me. But a good chunk of them don't think about what you thought, because you already had, you already turned very clear. You already had the PTSD, the trauma from that. And a lot of those guys don't even have the trauma. So that separates you from, sadly, these, no, man, even in today's stance, even though now the OnlyFans, oh, forget it. The man sometimes even whore himself out there, especially those Todd studs with his ads, his wang, his special man part, his glutamus maximus, all of that. And I'm sure, yeah, they're showing. I mean, for Instagram, all you're getting is just the muscular abs, because that's what they allowed for the most part. But OnlyFans, yeah, yeah, women has made millions of dollars of OnlyFans. I mean, a couple of them has become millionaires out of that.
yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah, a nurse, yeah, became a millionaire, I think, in, yeah, a pretty short time, because obviously, her physical looks was in high demand, and most men already accept the fact that they're willing to pay premium price for physical beauty, which is, watch out to criticize men in that part. They shouldn't have to do that, but they feel compelled to. So I'm not gonna make men entirely blameless on this. I think that's the only minor disagreement. But other than that, I totally get your point of view, because this needs to be talked about more often. The stuff you're mentioning is not well focused. It's always woman victim, man is a criminal and a sexual beast. Yeah, I'm adding another higher level insult to that.
Right. And my experience is not that men are sexual beasts, although it's not solely women who are involved, obviously. But one thing is that we know women don't respect men who don't stand up for themselves. And I guarantee you
Oh, a
one
thousand
thing,
percent.
yeah, I guarantee you women are not going to stand up for us. They're not going to stand up for men. You have really nothing to lose by standing up to women. In other words, being, like you said, a simp, being a simp doesn't work. They have no respect for you, and then they don't want to have sex with you.
And some guys too. They're simp. Some call you Rob Public simp, especially online. Yeah, that's more used online. Yeah, I don't mean to keep going.
right. Well, just that is something that men do, and I wish they knew not to do that, but they don't. They don't know, and they don't know how women are, and they don't know how women think, and and like you said, a lot of the things you say sometimes are just testing or tricks, or taken another way. Like, what does a woman think when you say "I love you"? What'd she think? What we really think she would think is not what she's thinking. She's thinking, "Oh, you can't get anybody else," right? That's that. This is the type of way men have to recognize how women interpret the world, because they hear what isn't said more than they hear what is said.